Welcome to Swift Lore. No.
Abby and Kat were born in 1997 and became best friends when they were 6. Grew up together and started a band and bonded over music ever since. 20 years later, they are all grown up and spend their free time analyzing lyrics. Now here they are talking all about their Lord and Savior, Dr. Taylor Allison Swift. Taylor, if you're listening, we love you.
Welcome to Swift Lore, where we talk about the lyrics and lore of our Lord and Savior, Dr. Taylor Allison Swift.
Absolutely, that's why we are here.
I'm Kat.
I'm Abby.
And this week, we have Sarah Gross on the pod.
What?
Literally so exciting.
Oh my goodness.
We are both such huge fans of her music. She's such a talented singer-songwriter. She is based in Long Island. She recently put out an album called The Killjoy that is just like incredible. You've got to go listen to it. She plays gigs all the time, so check her out. And
she's so wonderful.
It was so awesome talking to her about songwriting and Taylor Swift and Taylor Swift's impact on the music industry, and just it was
and
such
Wegmans and Possibilities.
It was an amazing conversation. It was so much fun. Still pinching ourselves a little bit because like,
wow, we did that.
It's iconic. So enjoy. Hello, welcome to the podcast. We've definitely not been talking yet.
Thank you for having me. This is awesome.
Yeah, this is so exciting. We were already talking about this before we hit record, but we saw Sarah and discovered her music when she opened up for Lawrence in Syracuse in 2021. Really great show. I think it's one of the only times that like an opener's been playing, and I literally went on Spotify on my phone and like added songs to a playlist so that I would make sure to listen later.
That means so
really
much. Thank you. Thank you so much. That was like we were such babies. We were, I think, seniors in college still, and the Westcott was just a place that we had gone to see concerts, and so that concert has a special place in my heart because we got to play there. So that's so cool.
Oh, where do we want to start?
Would you consider yourself a Swiftie?
Yes, I have a Taylor Swift. Oh shoot, I was gonna wear my cardigan today. I forgot. Which I guess wouldn't make a difference on the podcast, but I am definitely a Swiftie.
We know it's there. The energy of the cardigan is here.
Yes, the lore is around.
Oh, I think you mentioned you're a red girly.
Yes, I for sure am. I think that was the one where I started to learn guitar, so I have a lot of emotional attachment to it because I learned the guitar through the Red album.
Wow.
That's so fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was really cool when the re-record dropped. I felt like I was reliving a lot of memories as a young baby songwriter.
I think when we were on our way to see you, it was like right around the time that Red TV came out. I feel like
it was the week before or the week after, I think.
I feel like I remember us scream singing All Too Well 10-minute version.
On the way to the concert, we were singing All Too Well.
That was like our
That's magical. Yes. I think you're right about that. I remember I had stayed up with my friends, and I think we got to like all of the original Red album, and then it was like 1:30 a.m. and I was like, I have to check out. Like it'll be there tomorrow morning, but I have to go to sleep.
That's like I think that's her longest album. I feel like
really long.
Yeah, it's like 2 or 3 hours. It's a lot.
Yeah, it was like a full length movie.
And then she made short films, so really she just completed the loop there.
Cinema queen.
She does it all.
She does it all. I feel like that re-record, because like I loved Fearless, but like I don't know, the Fearless vault tracks for me don't hit as hard as like Red or Speak Now or 1989. I feel like because I really liked Fearless at the time that it came out, because I was like a kid and I just listened to it on repeat.
Yeah.
But now, like, I don't know, the vault tracks didn't hit, except for Mr. Perfectly Fine, which is a bop and a half.
I don't know. I feel it's so interesting because I think that I feel so similarly with Fearless being so nostalgic, because that was really the year that she had started to really break through to the next level of stardom, and there was just so much history around that time, and so to relive that but with fresh ears, like as if it was for the first time, was just such an amazing feeling. But I think that now we're adults. And so Red, I think, was her first album where she was really dealing with adult feelings, like young adult 20s kinds of feelings, which is what we are all feeling right now. And I find it so interesting to hear which ones really resonate with people, because I think it all kind of is maybe under the umbrella of that. I don't know.
Yeah, I think we've talked before about how like Red heartbreak songs are kind of like her first like grown up heartbreak. Like up until that point, there's a
Mm,
lot of like idealism, even in her breakup songs, because she had like such high hopes and expectations. But then
right.
Red is where it kind of is like, okay, I'm not like a kid anymore. I'm not thinking about love in like
Hmm.
this kind of like immature, idealistic way. Now it's more grown up and it hurts worse.
Yes. Yes. I
Yeah.
totally see that.
Because she even mentioned in the behind the scenes for the short film how we were watching the Sadie Sink character like grow up in the course of this
Mm,
breakup while she's grieving it. It's just such a
yeah.
powerful like turning point in her life. And you can feel that
Yeah.
when you listen to it.
Absolutely. I think that's why it performed as well as it did when it was, re-released. I think it's why it's probably the most successful vault track, I would say, of all of them.
So I know one thing that you wanted to talk about was just Taylor's influence in songwriting and the music business and just that whole Speak Now era and how she wrote that entire album herself.
Mm, yes. Where to start? I don't even
No,
know. I
it's a big
mean,
topic.
it is. It is. There's a lot of ground to cover. I guess I could give a little bit of a background on who I am and what I do. So I am a singer-songwriter based out of Long Island. I've been performing and writing music probably since I was around age 12, but I didn't really take it seriously until I was around 15 or 16. And I went to school for audio engineering and music industry. So I studied a lot about music business and all of that cool stuff. And then when I graduated, I just started performing, and that is kind of like my full time gig. So I have a very interesting perspective, I think, on the music industry because I have a lot of different lenses that I look through. And when I think about Taylor Swift, not only am I just do I have an emotional connection to her music just through growing up, but I think I have this deeply just strong respect for her and what she has done in the music industry and the way that she's moved about in the music industry. And I think that what she's accomplished is incredibly impressive. I don't think anyone is disagreeing with that. Um, but it's so interesting now to be a songwriter and performing and doing those things, meeting other female identifying songwriters and, you know, seeing, and Taylor is certainly the thread that weaves within all of us, and she's obviously inspired a lot of us. But I do think that it's also interesting the way that we navigate the music industry because of Taylor Swift.
Yeah, and I think a lot about how before Taylor really started getting popular, I feel like there are a lot of female musicians especially didn't necessarily write their music.
Mm-hmm.
And now I feel
Yeah.
like a majority of them do that are like in the, top 40 type like everything. I feel like she made
Yeah.
it a lot more normal and like moved away from the idea of having like the team of songwriters crafting the perfect song and just assigning it to an artist.
Yeah. Yeah. Which I think has had its pros and cons. I think that a lot of people, especially women who grew up with Taylor's music, were inspired by her, picked up the guitar, started writing music, and thank God for it. I really feel like people who grew up listening to Taylor and are writing music are really honed in on the craft and really think about lyrics in a way that I don't really know if people were doing before. I can't say for sure, but to my knowledge, I don't think that people were really as keen to the impact that their words had, and I don't know, phrasing, and just really, really hyper specific things that when it comes to songwriting, I feel like I certainly had learned a lot just from consuming her music over and over again.
Yeah, because I think she does this thing where she has these like hyper specific details, but somehow they feel so universal despite how not universal they are. And I know like
Yeah.
sometimes you can listen to a musician, you're like, this person is a Swiftie. Like,
Mm-hmm.
because that's
Yes,
like why we
absolutely.
were like, oh, we should have Sarah on. I was listening to like Naturally, and I was like, this is so August coded. And then I was like,
Ooh.
she's gotta be a Swiftie. There's no way she's not.
Yes, that is so correct. It's interesting. I get that quite often, and I can never tell. I'm like, am I copying her, or is this
I think
just
it's just because you
like
say parking lot.
parking lot? Oh my God, probably yes. um yeah, but I do think that the hyper specific, I whatever that word is, it's really particular, and I think that I definitely learned that from her music. Um, and it's so different when a Swiftie says, "Oh, you sound like Taylor Swift," and when a man
Mm.
says you sound like Taylor Swift, it is such a different connotation.
Yeah. Because it's like sometimes you can tell when it's a compliment and when it's supposed to be like a like putting you down comment, and you're just like, yeah, I do
Yeah.
sound like Taylor Swift. Get fucked. Like,
It's so interesting. Like it always is used as a backhanded compliment. It's always you sound so much better than Taylor Swift,
oh,
insinuating that she has no talent and just coasted for her whole career. Or it's, "Oh, you sound like Taylor Swift because I don't know any other woman who plays the guitar. And so I'm just going to say you sound like Taylor Swift." Um so I don't know. It really, but sometimes I'll get the compliment of like, "Oh, like it's like the other day someone at my gig requested Betty." And I was like, "Ah, I love that song. It's so good, whatever." So I played it and he was like, "Yeah, like I've always known that she was such a good musician, but my girlfriend really put me onto her music and I really love that song." And it's different. It's I don't know. It could really be used as a weapon, or it could be used as a really wonderful compliment.
yeah. I feel like the tide has like turned a lot in the last because it used to be like hating Taylor Swift was just like the norm. Like I
Hmm.
remember when I was in college and stuff, like before Reputation came out, I would like, cause I went to like SUNY New Paltz, which is like
Oh,
very
cool.
hippie, artsy, a lot of
Hmm.
pretentious people in the music scene there. Um, and like if you were walking around like house shows saying like, "Oh, I love Taylor Swift," like people wouldn't talk to you. So like
Mm.
that was like the vibe. And now I feel like if that scene still exists and I went back, like I'm sure Taylor Swift is getting played at the gigs where
I'm
like
sure.
5 years ago, no way. You'd be getting dirty looks and you'd never book again.
Yes, yes, agreed.
Except on the internet. I get so angry if I ever try to engage or read comments on anything about her on the internet because people are just so mean for no reason just because she's a woman and she's popular.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, she's popular for a reason. It's not like it's not for nothing, you know? It if all of these people love her so much, there must be a reason. And not for anything, so many people defend her in the music industry too, and I think that the way that she handles her business is, people have a lot of respect for her, so I don't know.
I feel like a lot of people, like young artists now, know about like owning their masters. I keep hitting this disco ball because it's not usually here, and I forgot to take it off before I put on the
Mhm.
mic, so I can't remove it. Um, that's why I keep startling every time I move my hand. Um, what was I saying? A lot of people like know about owning their masters now, whereas before the re-records, I feel like that wasn't a super popular thing that a lot of people knew to put in their contracts. Um,
Yes.
and I know also like I feel like the way that she handles herself and like the respect that other musicians have for her also gained her more respect. 'Cause, like I know my mom like is not a big Taylor Swift person, but like she loves the Foo Fighters and specifically Dave Grohl. And Dave
Mm-hmm.
Grohl loves Taylor Swift. So now my mom respects Taylor Swift because Dave Grohl does. I'm like, you know what?
That's how you
If
got
that's how
there.
you
A
got
win's
there,
a
that's
win.
fine. Like she's not gonna listen to Taylor Swift, but she stopped sending me like memes talking shit about her. And I'm like, I'll take it.
Hmm. Yeah. No, it is interesting. I was in college during the whole thing about her owning her master's, so we were learning about it in real time while it was all kind of unfolding in the media. And I think that that will stick around for a very long time. I think that Taylor Swift and her story, and there's many of them, but I think that specific story about her and her masters is going to stick around for a while.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I mean, also the way that it's so incredibly successful, like if
Mhm.
she had done it and it had kind of like flopped, I don't think obviously it would have had the same impact that it's had.
Hmm.
Um, but I think she's just so masterful and she just is so good at connecting with her fans and like I don't know, she just feels like a real person in a way that a lot of big musicians can feel like distance, but because like of her songwriting and her like personal touch on everything.
And she's leading by
Yeah.
example too. It's like what you were saying earlier about just showing like other artists starting to take part in similar things and knowing that they can have ownership of their masters and things like that because that didn't used to be a given or like an
Hmm.
expectation. Um, and so I just think that the things that she's doing is so incredible and she's just so inspiring.
Yeah. I also notice a lot of people who are independent artists like myself are very hesitant to even start pitching to labels now because of this whole thing. And we always knew that record labels were like this and that and they're not all like this, but we all were aware of how cutthroat it would be to sign to a label. But I think that there really is a lot of artists who are turning down label deals and doing it on their own. And well, if I have the fan base and I have this and I don't but I don't own my masters, like what am I really getting here? And so I think that this the whole master situation has definitely made people more self-aware when they're taking on these contract deals and saying, "Hold on, I don't want to be another Taylor Swift." And that's literally a thing that gets said, "I don't want to be another Taylor Swift." So, I don't know, it's interesting.
Yeah, it is. I feel like especially now, like obviously there's still people who sign to labels and everything, but I feel like indie artists have like more of a place because of like social media and just the opportunity to like go viral and stuff like that. I think
TikTok has been huge for the
yeah,
music
I think of
industry.
like Chappelle Roan, who I think she was on
Mm,
a label and then her label dropped her. God, they must
yeah.
be kicking themselves because I mean Chappelle Roan.
Mhm.
But
Yeah, yeah. Absolutely. I totally see that, and I don't know. I think there's just a lot that she has influenced when it comes to even promotion, the Easter eggs of it all. I mean, I see people now promoting their music with Easter eggs and solve this riddle and blah blah blah, and just the fan service that goes into promoting your music and being accessible to your fans. I think for such a giant pop star to be able to still do that, not so much now, but definitely in the Tumblr days of like 1989, I think that was very telling about how much she cared about her fans. And I think that was also just a very smart way for her to create a community with her fans that I really don't see happening with many other big pop artists.
yeah, I remember I was on Taylor Swift Tumblr during the 1989 era, and it'd be like the
Hmm.
panic of every time she was online, and people would just start being like, "Okay, guys, she's online. Like, watch out what you're posting. Like, watch out, she's gonna see stuff."
Mm-hmm.
And I know like for that tour too, she had like fan videos that played like before she went on stage,
Oh my
like
gosh,
dancers and
yes.
like just different like artists, whatever. And I feel like a lot of artists don't do that and don't have that like level of connection with their fans. And I mean 1989 obviously was huge.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I just love her. Obviously, here we are
Of
at a
course.
Taylor podcast.
It's like once an episode, we're just like, we just love her. Obviously, we have a podcast
Of
about
course.
her.
Who would have thought?
Yes.
Do you have any um like about your like songwriting process, like yours personally? I know you said Taylor influenced it with kind of some of how you think about songwriting. I don't know, like if you have a process that's your usual go-to, or you like sit down with the guitar, rough something out, fix it later, or
Yeah. I do kind of have a process. It changes every time, but I really love writing a song like it's an AP English essay. I will write out the who, what, where, when, why. I will create a story arc if it's a storytelling kind of song, and where are we? How am I setting this story, and what's what am I trying to say here? I try and sum it up. My rule is if I can't sum up the song in one sentence, then the song is too complicated. And that is kind of how I start my process. But other than that, it's really usually just me and my guitar and usually my dog when he's hanging around. But yeah.
That's so interesting. I love how songwriting processes can be so different. Um, Kat and I both have written songs in the past, present, and
Oh,
probably future.
cool.
Um,
Sweet.
and yeah, so that's a question that I always like asking people because to me, the song, most of the time, it just like comes fully formed. Like I don't know how to
Hmm.
explain it. It just like shows up in my head. Um,
Yes.
but I really like what you said about keeping it simple because I think that's something that I struggle with. Is sometimes I'm like, wait, what am I even saying?
what's
Right.
going on here?
Right.
What am I
And
talking?
it's sometimes it's good. Like I feel like when I am in the mood to write a song, and I don't write a song every single day, although I would love if I had the time to even attempt that, but I think that you need to really just let it all flood out of you. And sometimes I create what I call a slush file, and I'll just jot down every single lyric idea, every single feeling, every image that I'm seeing when I start to write a song, and then I just kind of scribble it all out on either a piece of paper or even a Google Doc. And I will try chipping away at stuff. And then once I like start really going in and polishing it, if there are times I need to pull inspiration again, I have the slush file to remind me of everything that I was feeling kind of in that exact moment.
Cool. Do you
Yeah.
have any like from the vault tracks that were never released, but
Or
just
like
like,
lines that got cut, like
yeah.
the idea, like creative writing, kill your darlings. My least
Yes,
favorite. I love the
I
darlings.
do.
I kill them.
Um, yeah, I think for every one good song, I probably have written three or four ideas. I wouldn't even call them songs, but sometimes the bad songs will lead to a good song, and you can always go back and pull stuff if you really want. Um, but I don't know. I try not to think of them as throwaways, or oh, this is a bad song, like this was a negative experience, because I think everything happens for a reason, and that song happened for a reason, and maybe you don't know it right in that moment, but that song might lead you to an amazing song that who knows what'll happen.
Yeah, because I think that's like when you're honing any sort of like creative craft, like you have to make the mistakes and realize what doesn't work, and like what you're like, maybe like I shouldn't do like that kind of like lyric or that progression. Then the next time you sit down to write a song, you don't do that. And then because of that, the song comes easier and turns out to be great.
Yeah. Yeah. there's a couple of songs on the record that I just put out that were vault tracks in my mind. I wasn't really planning on doing anything with them. One of them being a song called I Just Want to Party. And that one was a school assignment that I had done when I was in college. And I was this close to not putting it on the record because I was like, I just did it for fun. Like, I wasn't really thinking too much about making a record, and I don't really know. And I just thought it was too silly.
No,
And
I like
then
it
I
'cause
even
it's just a fun, silly song. Like I love that song.
Yay! Thank you. I'm so glad I put it on because I think that one has weirdly resonated with people more than I thought it would. And I don't know, maybe I just needed to not take myself so seriously. And then the other one was a song called Deep End, which is also on the record. And that one I was
Right.
truly not anticipating putting it on the record at all. Um, I thought it was too much of a downer to put it
No,
on there.
it's a downer, but like in a good way.
I
Good.
love sad girl songs. I love them.
That's on my like scream sing in the car playlist.
Oh my
Like if you're having
gosh.
a shit day and just scream singing that bridge, my dog
Oh
is
my God.
terrified of me every time.
That's what it's made for.
I love songs
Yes.
like that.
Thank you. I'm so glad.
What does that feel like to put out something that vulnerable?
Really hard. I think that's one of the reasons why it almost didn't make it. It was so exactly how I felt in that moment. And I and it's so weird because that was a song for me where I didn't feel like I was writing from my own perspective. Sometimes I will write songs and I don't really know where they're coming from. And so I think that maybe I'm taking on someone else's story. I've done that before where I've written songs about like my roommate's breakup because, when your roommate goes through something, we all go through something. And I thought, well, maybe I'm just writing this from their perspective. It's not really mine. And when I get in that headspace, I inadvertently really say what I want to say because I don't think it's coming from my voice. The people who are listening can't see this, but I'm using bunny ears. And then when I went back and recorded that song, I realized, no, this one is for me. This is definitely coming from somewhere.
Yeah, I love that. And I'm gonna sound like a weirdo because I know you're talking about Arizona when you were saying it was about your roommate's breakup. Because I remember seeing something about it like literally years ago, and I sound like a fucking stalker. And I promise, I just remember really weird shit all the time.
Yes.
Love that song. And just like totally random thing. Do you know the YouTuber Ellie Thuman?
I don't think so.
She uses your song in the background of some of her vlogs. She has like a couple million
Oh,
followers.
no way.
Yeah, I don't know, like, because I remember I was watching one of her vlogs once because she's from Arizona. And so, like, this
Oh my
Arizona started
gosh.
playing in the background, and I like freaked out.
That's so cool. That's really random.
Yeah, it's the ADHD. It's just like that's the
Oh,
hop, skip, and a jump that my brain goes through.
I'm right there with you.
I'm still thinking about the
I mean, like to bring it back to the actual conversation we were having.
um I am thinking about Taylor Swift's vulnerability because she puts out stuff sometimes where I'm just like, that is so deeply personal. And
Hmm.
just the absolute courage that must take. I don't
Yeah.
really point to that. It's just
Yeah,
related.
I feel like also like I think of like would have, could have, should have, where I'm
Mhm.
just like
Mm.
I feel like sometimes the songs are so vulnerable that like when people listen, they don't think about the songwriter. They just are like, let's make it about me. I mean, I
Hmm.
don't know if that's just me with what have, could have, should have.
But that song is so important to so many people. So she put that out, like she had the
Yeah.
courage to put that out. And it's so personal
Yeah.
and so raw and so real, but like so many people relate to it. And that's so
Yeah. It is so special and it's very hard. I mean, you're also setting yourself up for rejection and failure when you put anything out into the world. And when it comes to art, it's a literal piece of you. It's your humanity, it's your feelings. And so to put something out and oh, they don't like it. Well, they don't just dislike your song. They dislike you. That's how it feels when you're a songwriter and you are setting yourself up to release music. And I don't say that to discourage people from releasing music. I say it to empathize with people who are afraid to put out music, because that is a very scary feeling, and I don't think it gets talked about super often because we're all just kind of in this, I'm going to go off a little bit here. We're all just kind of in this very capitalist mindset of just we need to put shit out all the time and people got to listen and blah blah blah. And when you are so overwhelmed by the hustler mindset and you're not letting your emotional self process what you're about to do, it can be very, very stifling. So good on her for doing it for so many years. I mean, it's just, I wonder if that ever gets easier for her.
Yeah, I wonder because I know sometimes like with something like that, especially if you're not processing like that, like anxiety and fear about like putting yourself out there. I feel like that's a lot of times like when writer's block hits and you're just like, I don't know why I can't write. And it's like, it's because you're not acknowledging like any of your emotions, and then you can't write
Yeah.
emotions because you're repressing half of them.
Yeah.
That was a call out for myself. I'd like to
I also think potentially it could have been easier when she was younger to put that kind of content out. Like I know, and we've talked about this in the podcast, when we were 19, we were far more likely to write a song about someone and then perform them in front of that someone. That's calling me out, by the way. And I would not do that now. But so I don't know. I think it could go either way. That's a really good question.
Yeah, because I think also about how she used to like write people's names into songs, and like she doesn't do that anymore. Like I think Deep One was the last one, and that one is kind of the, you know, the gray area. But like debut, she was like, Drew, I had a crush on you.
Abby,
Like,
yes.
that was fearless.
Yeah, and that was her friend though. They're still friends, so it's okay.
Yeah. I don't know. I love the drama. I wish I could sit here and be like, yeah, like I'm above that. I'm not.
I get it. I'm still of the mindset of like, because I write fiction kind of mainly, and like naming characters that are kind of shitheads after people you don't like. It's so good. Usually I change it for the final draft, but like while writing it, I'm just like, yeah, fuck you, man.
Yes.
No breaks for your character.
Well, you know what they say, if you didn't want a song written about you, maybe don't fuck over a songwriter. It's math.
That's true.
That's right there.
If you want a good song written about you, be a good person.
Yeah.
Taylor Lautner paved the way.
He really did.
Absolutely. And now he's beloved. He's cherished in the community. So
he's RX. He's everyone's collective good ex-boyfriend.
Yes.
We keep him around.
Have you ever been to Rochester?
Yes, briefly. So my drummer in college was from Rochester, and when we had opened for Melt in Buffalo, we opened for them in Syracuse and Buffalo. So Rochester was like the perfect middle place to crash. So I was only there for one night, but I did get Tim Hortons in the morning, and it was a very good sandwich. I'll give you that.
A classic.
That's something. Next time you got to go to Wegmans.
Well, they have Wegmans in Syracuse.
Oh, I guess they do.
Oh, I know.
They don't have one on
Wegmans.
Long Island yet. We're big Wegmans girlies.
Wait, are you both on Long Island?
No, we're in Rochester.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say, I was like, wait a second, I have this all wrong.
I have some good friends that live on Long Island, so I know it vaguely.
Yes, we do not have a Wegmans yet. I do have beef with Wegmans.
Oh no.
Because I have chronic ADHD, and when I walk into Wegmans, it does not make sense.
No, it doesn't. They do it on purpose, unfortunately, to get you to stay there longer so you buy more stuff.
it works. I feel like I am there for an hour and a half and I walk out with nothing because I can't find any of the things that I walked in for. But
That's
thank
so
God I have this $11 lavender hand soap made from goats. I don't get it.
They
gotta know.
also like spray good smelling food into the air. That's like genuinely what they do
Oh
outside.
my
Like Disney World.
gosh.
It's like Disney. What's a
Sneaky.
grocery store?
Well, because Disney does that. They pipe out the smells on like
That's true.
all the main areas.
Wegmans is less fun than Disney World.
Well, depends on your opinions.
Depends.
Depends on how
Depends.
crowded it is at Disney World that day.
That's true.
Or
No,
Wegmans.
Or
Yes.
Wegmans. Wegmans is the chaos is getting worse. I'm like that. My mom was telling me about like a Karen Facebook post about somebody being like, Wegmans is too chaotic. The parking lots suck. And it's just like, yeah, it's a grocery store.
Yeah. I don't expect to like walk into Costco and leave feeling refreshed and at ease. It is
Like
a
preparing for
lawless
battle.
land. Yeah, literally. That's why you have to get
talk
the
about in
big
5,000
wagons.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I don't know why.
Sorry, I'm very bad with staying on topic.
No, that's fine.
Us too.
We the Wegmans was one of our questions because we were like, okay, she went to school in upstate.
I'm glad that I'm great at staying on topic.
We were making really chaotic notes, and we were like, okay, well, ask about Rochester. All we know about limited information about Syracuse. I was like, possibilities. That's there. Like,
I'm so glad you brought it up. I'm surprised I haven't brought it up. Possibilities, 10 out of 10.
Good.
Very hard to actually get a table there. But Wegmans does sell their spicy tomato oil.
really?
Yes.
Okay.
Shakespeare.
Spear's really excited about the tomato
Oh,
oil.
Shakespeare.
I don't
Yes.
think I've ever eaten. I've never been at a table there. I only got takeout a couple times.
It's delish. Syracuse actually has a lot of amazing food. It was really interesting to go to school there during COVID because there was nowhere to go. And normally during the school year, you wouldn't go downtown or you wouldn't really go outside of the campus. So during COVID, we would just drive around. I mean, we weren't really like going into towns because things weren't open yet, but it was really cool to just kind of get to know where I was living for 4 years. And I don't know if I necessarily would have done that had it not been for the pandemic. So I don't know. And then when things did open back up, we were always downtown and it was so cool. There was so much to do there.
What song do you like playing live the most? Because I know you've been playing a lot of gigs lately. We're in the broadcast channel. We're getting all the fun gifts.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Bless your heart. I'm surprised you're even talking to me. My favorite song to play live, it really depends on if I'm playing with a band or not. If I'm playing with a band, probably Stranger. That song was just made to be played live. And it's usually the closer of the show. Oh, actually, it might be Deep End now, actually. We've been doing a full band version of Deep End. And I kind of wish that I had just recorded it for the album, but such is life. And it really, really goes hard. And then it usually will flow right into Killjoy. And it is like an emotional roller coaster for me, but I am a Pisces and I love it.
I thrive in the chaos sometimes.
Yes,
Cancer,
yes.
And I got chills just thinking about it. So how do we make this happen? We got to see it.
Yes. One day, I promise, when I get my shit together, I'm going to do this. If I'm performing live, probably, or if I'm performing solo, I really like to play Brooklyn Only Rains by myself. Usually because there's a lot of storytelling that goes along with it, and it really brings me back to my folky roots.
Love that.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite show that you did or just like an experience that really sticks out?
Mm. We played most recently um a show at a Long Island festival called Bradstock, and we and it's exactly what you think it is in your head right now. It is like Woodstock, but it's on Long Island, and it's a bunch of hippie middle-aged people that live on Long Island. It was the best day ever. And I just really felt like I was transported back to the 70s. And it was the last show on a little mini run that we were doing with our band. And we were just so tight that day. And because it was our last show, it just felt like everybody was just leaving it on the table. And not only that, but Bradstock was something that I had heard about over the years, and so that was like a bucket list thing for me to do. And then I just felt like it was just the most welcoming, heartwarming show. Like people were just so into it and so fun, and I just remember coming home that day and I started writing a song, and it basically was just like, I hope one day that when I am in my dreams, selling out big concerts and things like that, that it still feels like this when I come home, that I still have this much love for my band and we don't just find this normal one day. And I definitely, sorry to go on a tangent, but that's what comes to mind for me.
No, I love that.
We're all about tangents here.
Great. I'm chock full of them.
Oh, great. That's like all our podcast is, honestly.
Yeah, I love
Amazing.
that though. That's like, I love that. I'm excited to hear that song when it comes out.
Maybe. I honestly haven't revisited it in such a long time, but I have so much love for my band and the people in my band, and it took us a long time to really get a mix of people that just clicked so well, and it just doesn't even feel like we are working. It just feels like we are making music with the people that we were meant to make music with.
Wow.
Yeah. It's special when it happens. We all live in different places, but when it happens, it's great.
That's great. Yeah, I've been in bands where that was not the vibe, and it's like the chore of like going to practice and stuff that like then when you find somebody that it vibes with, you're like, oh my God, what a relief.
Yeah. Yeah, that's also something I don't think that gets talked about a lot, especially if you are someone fronting a band. The It is so uncomfortable when you have to mix and match people and see who's working, and this person isn't really the vibe for the group, and now we have to find someone else. That's a lot of responsibility, and it's anxiety inducing when the dynamics are not what you want it to be. Yeah, I understand that.
Yeah, especially because like I mean music, like we've been saying throughout this, like it's so personal that like it feels like if it's not meshing, then immediately like
Mm,
the anxiety set in of like, am I what's setting it off balance? Like what's happening here? Like I
mm,
have to
mm.
the like must fix creative weird mix
Mm.
mindset.
Yeah.
But then it's like
It's
what you were saying, when you do find someone that it clicks with, it just feels so magical.
Yeah. Yeah. And it should. And I think that there's honestly no shame in reworking the that set group of people until it does work. And I don't know, I think it really makes a difference when everybody in the group is just as invested in your music as you are. Because if they're not, it shows so clearly. And I think it can be infectious. Like, I think that if one person stops caring and one person's not really trying, then other people might not feel like they have to try or they're too cool to put the time in. And no one needs that.
Yeah.
how do you put together like a track list for an album or an EP, like deciding how that's gonna flow?
Oh, yes. This definitely brings it back to Taylor. I think she is so, I mean, I'm sure that you guys know this. She's so particular about the order of her songs. I feel like I mean, we all know the track 5 lore for sure. And I think that when it comes to creating a track order, I will I will listen to the album in various forms, and the one that feels the most, you know, the one that has the most impact is usually the one that I end up going with. And I think that it usually starts out with something pretty full band, something either very vulnerable or very just, this is setting the scene. This is exactly what you're going to get for the rest of this record. And then I keep it like light and fun for a little bit, and then we dip into the sad girl hours. And then usually the last track of the record, I have done this now. I've only released 2 records so far, but they've both been the title of the album. And so I would like to continue that trend. Hopefully, if I just continue to write songs with like album titleable songs. But they always usually end up being the most vulnerable song on the record. So that's kind of how I think about it. But I think there is a natural progression of songs too.
Yeah, I always like love hearing about that because I feel like everybody has a different like mentality and like thought process to it. I love that.
And when you
Yeah.
listen to a really cohesive album and you listen through it and it sounds so like seamless and you're not even really thinking about how much thought and effort must have gone into that.
Yeah.
But
And I
so
think
much goes into it.
to bring it back to Taylor, something so underrated that she did with Folklore, because it was just such a storytelling record, when she did all of the chapters and all of the different things. I mean, all of these songs are so good and they stand on their own, but the meaning changes when you put them next to certain songs. And I thought that was so fascinating when she was pulling songs, you know, from Folklore and Evermore and combining them and be like, oh my gosh, I never would have thought those two went together. And it just puts a new perspective on it. And I think that's also really important to consider when you are ordering your songs on a record.
Yeah, I mean, Folklore and Evermore is just in its own league, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so
Yeah.
different from her other stuff as well. It's just like a really distinct era.
Yeah.
Yeah. I could take a whole career off of just those two. I'll take what I could get from Taylor, but I part of me is like, oh man, I want every single song to be made in the style of Folklore and Evermore. I I think that was just, it was so kismet and it was so just insane.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of times that's my go-to like songs are off of that album. If somebody's like, I don't like Taylor Swift, I'm like, okay, but like listen to anything off of Folklore or Evermore,
Yeah.
and then you'll change your mind.
Yeah. It was
Like,
all just such a vulnerable, am I supposed to be here listening to this song kind of era for her.
And the way that it was dropped just out of nowhere
oh my
during
God, that
the
was
pandemic.
so
Oh.
chaotic. I
Don't get me started.
Oh, we're gonna get you started.
like I
Oh.
remember when Folklore came out, like that was the last album because I graduated from grad school in like August 2020. So I was like, that was the Folklore was the last album that I could like stay up till midnight and like listen to because I like didn't
Mhm.
have to work the next day.
Oh my gosh. That's funny.
But like, so I just remember like staying up till midnight and like listening through to the album with our friend Bailey and like being on like a FaceTime and just reacting and like it's such
Mhm.
a good time.
I will never forgive her for the spontaneous dropping of all of the stuff. I don't think I think this must have been before the Lawrence show.
Yeah.
I'm assuming. Yes, it had to be. It was before the Lawrence show because this is my junior year of college. When Folklore was released, it was middle of COVID. When Evermore was released, it was the same day that I released Songs from the Passenger Seat. And I literally woke up in my cardigan, my Taylor Swift cardigan, and I roll over, I look at my phone, I'm all excited because my album's coming out tomorrow. And Miss Blondie, oh, I'm dropping an album. I was devastated. And at the time, I didn't see this as a blessing. I thought, I was like, my life's work, the songs that I have, crafted over my last 18 years of living or whatever, how old I was, are now, because of fucking Taylor Swift, are going to be overshadowed. And it turned out to be a good thing because people were more online than usual and paying attention to new music. So it actually did end up helping me. And so I thought it was a one-off thing. No. I released another song in February, Love Story. Out of nowhere, Taylor's version comes out. And it happened like 3 more times.
That's insane.
I can't believe
it was
obsessed with you.
She's obsessed with me, and I just would like some credit for being on the same release cycle as her, and also if she wants to help out a young budding artist, that would also be great. But yeah, it was like torture.
When Rep TV's coming, so like when's your next thing drop?
Yes, I'm like, I should just keep releasing music so that we also get Taylor Swift.
There's a running joke on the podcast of the amount of times that we have been like, Rep TV's coming, it's gonna be here, and then it's not.
I love clowning. I love to be a fool.
I hope that she's gonna announce it like at the Super Bowl.
I know.
I want them to pan it to her, and then she'll hold up a sign, Rep TV coming out, blah blah blah. Yeah.
she'll sneak a live snake in.
Yes. Super Bowl Easter egg.
Like imagine the Chiefs win. It's just like, Travis, you won the Super Bowl. What are you gonna do now? And he's like, Rep TV coming.
I'm gonna listen to Rep TV.
This was all one big media ploy so that Travis Kelce could win the Super Bowl, and then he would be the one to announce Rep TV.
I like
that. Sounds perfectly logical.
Yeah, I mean, it's as logical as any other theory I've talked about.
Yeah,
that would be pretty iconic of him, though.
It would.
Just saying. Also, if she announces it before the Super Bowl, like, people are going to be, by people I mean annoying men, are going to be so pressed about it because they're going to be like, oh my god, everybody's talking about Taylor Swift and not the Super Bowl. Like,
pressed anyway because we're already talking about her. Because now the Chiefs are going there.
True. Like the NFL like posted a picture of like Taylor and Travis like on the field after the game, and I just was like in the comments, I was like, all right, how long until somebody mentions The Man by Taylor Swift? It was like one comment in. It was like the first comment of some dude being like Taylor Swift, and then I like hit expand, and the first one's like, Alexa, play The Man. Like, all right, well, that's what I like to do on those posts. I'm like, all right, how long does it take for this song to get mentioned? That's how I make it not depressing, by looking at the comments.
That's really funny.
It's a fun little game.
That is a fun little game. I can't look at the comments because, as I mentioned before, they just make me angry. And I'm not the type of person to argue on the internet, but this is something that I get so heated about. Like, don't say just like blatantly untrue or biased things about her. You don't know what you're talking about.
And just being misogynistic. Like, shut up.
A lot of times the criticism, especially in the NFL comment section, it's not coming from a place of genuine critique. It's coming from a place of, I don't like women.
I know that like all of the men are so upset with Taylor Swift being brought up all of the time when it comes to the NFL. Well, what about us? What about football being mentioned all the time?
That's true.
I like was talking to my dad about something like I was mentioning like the Chiefs game because Taylor was there, and I was like, yeah, like the reaction to like him getting tackled or something. And my dad's like, oh, was it like legal? And I was like, yeah, it was. And then I like explained it, and then I just stopped, and I already forgot it. Like I already deleted it from my brain, but I was like, I don't know why I know that. I don't want to know. Everything I know about football is against my will.
Yeah. No, I'm learning by proxy. It's literally not on purpose. But now I feel like I know something. So, but now we speak the language. Now they can't gatekeep us. That was the thing, was before, when football was mentioned, I was out of the conversation. I could contribute absolutely nothing. But now they can't say that I don't know how the game works.
And now it's like, all right, great. This is my opportunity to bring up Taylor Swift, which I care about so much more than football.
Pivot.
Like, all right, guys, let's turn the conversation to something that I care about. Taylor Swift.
Yeah. The real news.
The real news.
Last question. Besides Taylor, what are some of your other like songwriting influences? Like what other musicians?
Oh, yes. I have a couple of them. One of them is sitting right next to me. Actually, I have a few of them. I just got a record player. I'm really excited about it. Okay. I have John Prine. I have Joni Mitchell and Neil Young. Those are pretty big for me. Casey Musgraves is another big one. I think that they all just have, and Bob Dylan, very, very clever songwriting. I love the way that they take a phrase that we know well and flip it on its head. I think I wanted to do that, and that's kind of how Killjoy was created. And now I feel like it's a thing that I do a lot in my music, and I don't know, I just, they all kind of do it in their own right. And I love it.
That's awesome. Was there anything else that you wanted to talk about while we got you?
I don't know. I guess just to plug, you can listen to The Killjoy on all streaming services. We're going to be playing a few shows throughout the year, so you can sign up for my mailing list if you want to keep in touch about that.
All the links will be in the bio of this, in the description of this episode. We'll have all the socials and
hell yeah.
Now I kind of,
the mailing list is fun. I always send it out on the full moon, and it's a nice little reflection. And then it's also just so that I'm not badgering people with emails constantly. So you only get them once a month.
Cool. Love that. Oh my gosh.
Right, well, thank you so much for being on. This was so much fun.
Yay! This was so much fun. Thank you for having me.
Of course.
Any excuse to talk about Taylor Swift and songwriting is enough for me. Amazing.
Yeah, we're so happy to have you here. I was like screaming in an Ulta when I found out that we were going to be talking to you. I was like, really excited. So yeah, this has been
so cool.
Lovely.
It's so fun.
Amazing. Thank you so much for having me. This is so fun.
So thank you again, Sarah, for coming on the podcast. Sarah, that was literally so much fun. So incredible. I loved hearing everything that she had to say. She's
so insightful.
Yeah, I loved her perspective on everything.
And she's just got the best hair.
She does. She has great hair.
I wanted to ask her about it, and then I was like, nope, gonna be normal.
Gonna be so normal about it.
Gonna be so normal about it. How do I get your
hair? I
hair?
had my not normal moment of knowing she was talking about Arizona from her mentioning a song about her roommate's breakup, and I was like, you know what? That is enough weird.
Kat and I are gonna have to
used up the entire allotment of weird in that moment.
We were doing our best, but the problem is we are not chill individuals.
As you can tell from this podcast about Taylor Swift, we can't be normal about music that we like.
And we don't even pretend to be normal about it.
No.
So
pretend to be normal about stuff is boring. So make sure that you check out Sarah everywhere. All the links for everything are going to be in the description of this episode. And also probably on our Instagram stories if you're watching this the day that it comes out. Follow her.
Please do. She's just really
And
good.
I'm gonna look up her on stuff so we can.
Oh yeah.
So she is at Sarah with an H, Sarah Gross Music on everything.
She's even
I opened up TikTok to check what if her at was the same. It is. The first video I'll show the watchers. It's it's a person in an inflatable Snoopy costume and heels doing the Sabrina Carpenter feather dance.
Oh, I love that for Snoopy.
I don't know why that's what was open.
I don't know, but
I've never watched.
Can you save it so we can put it in the meme dump?
Yeah.
That's very important to
I'm
me.
gonna send that to you right now. I'll just send it to the pod.
So anyway, follow Sarah Gross everywhere.
It's at Sarah Gross Music on everything. She's on all the streaming platforms. She's got a newsletter. Follow her and follow us also on Instagram at SwiftLorePod
And on TikTok at SwiftLorePod.
And thanks for listening. Crispy high five time.
Crispy high five. I'm so proud of us.
Look at us go. Yeah.
Bye.
This is my dog that I constantly shit talk on this podcast. She's the light of my life. And she's so yucky. Okay. All right.
Okay. She wants to be a part of this episode, so there we have it.